Hi, hello. I'm back with another YouTube video. I've got a couple what I just finished and what I'm watching right now. That is the list that I have for you. That's what I'm going to do because I don't necessarily want to make an entire video about one show. So I'm just going to make one video about a couple different shows. So, starting with what I finished. In my last video, I think I was still currently watching the show called Mouse. I finished it. Honestly, not a ton of notes aside from it was very long, very confusing. It was really good, but it was way too long. They should have cut off at least a couple of episodes and they should have figured out a way to sum it up better. I know why they did so many episodes is because there was so much story, but it got to the point where we were still getting plot twists in like the last like couple episodes, and it was like, we can be, release me from the plot twist, please. Overall good, would not rewatch. It's too long. And also low-key kind of frustrating, and it's tedious at times because there's just so many episodes. So there's that one. Then this other show, it's called First Frost. I don't remember if I talked about it in my last video, but this is one of my favorite C-dramas I've ever watched. I watched it when I was really, really sick. So I watched that and Mouse at the same time when I was super sick and just home for like 2 weeks. Like I didn't like do anything for like 2 weeks. And I literally just watched TV. That's like all I did because that was all I could do. I couldn't really do anything. And I watched First Frost, and it's literally, okay, so it's about, okay, I'm trying to think of like what the actual technical plot is, because like I'm not even really sure. It's just about two people who are roommates essentially. That's like the basic, like, bottom line. That's the plot. So this guy and this girl knew each other in high school. He liked her. She also did like him, but that's not really revealed that she actually did have feelings for him until way later in the plot, like years later. But she also liked him, but nothing ever happened between them. She had a really rough home life. She had a rough home life once she was like a teenager, if that makes sense. So she had lived with her mom and her dad until her dad died. And then her mom went off the deep end and basically just like abandoned her and got remarried, had 2 more kids, and was like, you can go live with your aunt and your uncle or whatever. I hate her mom. Point blank. Hate her mom. She's the worst character. I cannot stand her mom. And you're not supposed to like her. She's an antagonist. Like, she's not a good part of the story. Anyways, so Girly Pop then goes and lives with her aunt and uncle for the remainder of her high school years and kind of until she goes to college, I think. So it's a couple of years. They're awful. They're terrible. Bad stuff happens to her there. Really, really something really, really bad almost happens to her there. Thankfully it doesn't, but that scars her for life. And she then escapes to a different college. She was originally going to go to this one college with him. At the time, I guess they're friends. They're not like a couple, but they're friends. She was going to go to the same college as him, but then she dipped out of his life, disappeared. He did not hear from her for years. And so it was kind of like this contentious point between them because she just like abandoned him essentially and just like disappeared. Very sad. And their last like conversation before she had like left was like really sad too. Anyways, years pass. It's like 8 years later, and they consequently, through matters of circumstance, end up becoming roommates, and that's kind of how it starts their adult life plot together. Obviously they eventually fall in love and whatever, and it's one of those plots too where it's like, you know, he had been checking up on her over the years, like just seeing where she was in life and seeing like he never lost contact with her. She just didn't know he was there. Like he always was kind of watching her, kind of like a stalker, but like in an okay way because he wasn't trying to be creepy. And the reason she originally left was not because she like hated him or needed to get away from him or something, but it was because her life was such a mess and because she just needed to escape. And this is the one thing I'll say about this show. As much as I liked this show, there is a point in the plot where she dips out again. Once they're like finally decided to date and be together, and it's very special, and they're so special to each other. They have such a beautiful connection. There's so much history, so much just between them, there's so much, and she runs away again. It's because, now, I didn't say this when I was first explaining, but when she lived with her aunt and uncle, her aunt, who was her aunt by marriage, okay, so her uncle is the one that was her dad's brother, okay, and then he got married, so it's her aunt, okay, that makes track with me. Her aunt's brother, so not her uncle by blood, technically her uncle by marriage, kind of, like she's kind of related to him, but like not really. He's the one that tries to assault her. Yeah, really bad. So he tries to assault her back in high school, and he's a big reason why she has so much trauma. And she also just has trauma because she told her mom what was happening. Her mom basically was like, oh, that's bad. Like after she almost got assaulted, her mom came and like just was so like not concerned, like and the aunt was of course claiming that she was lying. She's like, you're lying. It didn't happen. He wouldn't do that. He was just drunk. He went in the wrong room. Girl, be so for real. We all know your brother's a creep. Ow, that hurt my... I like moved my head weird. That hurt my head. Anyways, all that to say, her mom does not stand up for her, does not come get her. She had told, before that incident happened, she had called her mom sobbing, being like, can you please come pick me up? Wouldn't do it. Her mom sucks. Point blank. Okay, so all that to say, the reason she runs away the second time when she's with her man, they're finally together. It takes them so long. When they're finally together, the reason she leaves is because he starts threatening his work. The uncle comes back into her life, essentially pops back in and basically starts to like terrorize her and her boyfriend's business. And like, cause he's like a part owner of this like a restaurant, so he comes in, he's like bothering women, being disruptive, just whatever. And he's like, you'll never get away from me, blah blah. So she dips out and leaves. Okay, and then she's gone for like 6 months. And when I was watching the show and seeing all this stuff happening, I was really upset with her character because I was like, girl, what are you doing? Why would you run away from him? Why you had this whole thing about how you wouldn't abandon him. You like made this whole thing how you would never do that again. And then like within a couple of episodes, you're like gone. I get why she left. And as the show goes on and you start to see what really happened between her and that uncle guy, whatever, you really start to understand why she thought that was the only way. She wasn't trying to abandon her boyfriend because she didn't want to be with him. She was trying to protect him. And it was a stupid protection, but it was also like she's been running away her whole life, trying to get away from her problems. That's just kind of her coping mechanism. So it's not shocking that that's how she went about the situation. It was still frustrating, whatever. All of that to say, they do end up reuniting and it ends up working out and they're fine, whatever. They are so precious to me, though. They are so special to me. Oh my gosh, like this, the actress and the actor, they did such a good job. The way that the actress portrays the character is the most beautiful, just gentle soul that you just like want to protect at all times. You're just like, I need to protect this girl. But then also when she does like stand up for herself in moments, you're like, okay, slay. I will say there's one thing about her standing up I don't understand why the show did this. The character stands up for herself to her mom and her aunt, her sucky aunt, right? And like really like kind of just in a kind of like a quiet strength kind of way, just like stands up for herself and then she runs away. So it feels a little like, I don't know why the show put her having like this moment of like, you know, being strong and then just being like, oh, but I'm gonna run away, whatever. That side note, I just didn't like the way the show did that. I just didn't get that. Anyways, yeah, I love them. The way that he tries to be so nonchalant, but he is the most like, he is the most lover boy that has ever existed. And it's like all of the acts of kindness that he does for her. And another big thing about her character is that she sleepwalks. So that's like kind of what sets off their like interactions just randomly, is that she'll sleepwalk and they'll interact and she doesn't remember it, but he remembers it. And like she often gathers comfort from him. So she hugs him a lot when she's sleepwalking. One time she pretends to sleepwalk so she can hug him. Oh, which is like, girl, but also I get it. Yeah, and they just have some really good kiss scenes too. You have to wait so long for it, but it's so worth it. And he is, oh my gosh, he is so fine. He is so fine, you guys. You don't understand. He's so sexy, and she is so pretty. There was the amount of times I just look at her and I'd be like, wow, that woman is just gorgeous. And they have great chemistry. I was fed. It was a very big contrast to Mouse too. So the two shows I was watching at the same time, very different. All that to say, great show, would recommend 100%. I would say of all the C-dramas I've watched, it's one of the best. It's one of the sadder, more depressing ones, but it's really good. And I would also obviously say When I Fly Towards You is also probably my favorite C-drama I've ever watched, because it's just literally happiness in a show. And youth and life and love and friendship and happiness. And I love that show. Anyways, Okay, so the next show that I have finished kind of recently-ish, it's called Karma. Now, this show is confusing because at the core of it, it's about like 10 different people that are all interconnected. So the story, I'll try to see, I'm going to start to see if I can explain it. If I can't, I will stop and say, never mind, I just watch the show if you want to watch it, because it's confusing. But basically, essentially, the story centers at a situation that happened to this girl in high school. She was by 3 people. Whew, it was so bad. And she was set up by this other girl. And one of the guys that did that, the other girl who set our main girl up, I'm already feeling like this doesn't make sense. Anyways, basically, because of this assault situation that happened to this one girl, she grows up and is a doctor, and she's one of the main characters. Her story isn't really until the end, but one of the guys that assaulted her his story is that he has a bunch of debt and he's trying to pay off his debt, and he decides to hire someone to kill his dad so he can get his dad's insurance payout. Okay, the guy he hires to kill his dad is just this other character who I don't think he had any connection to the past characters. He was just connected in that way. He's connected, the guy that is the killer, the assassin, if you will, is connected to the 2 horrible people from the high school who set our girl up to get assaulted. Technically it was more, I feel like this is not making any sense. Technically, I'm just going to keep going. And if you don't understand this part of my video, just skip it, because at this point I'm committed and I might as well keep going. The girl that set the other girl up to get hurt, she was friends with that other guy. He didn't technically have anything to do with the assault part of it, but he's still a horrible person that did horrible things. So then she sets that up. It happens, blah, 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 years later. Now we have the guy that actually did it, that was the big plot twist, was that you thought that the guy that was the one that was one of the assaulters was the guy from the high school who was connected to the girl who set the other girl up. But it was this other random guy that was in the show that we just didn't know who that was him. So that was one of the plot twists. It was like one of the things of like, that's his real identity. And then there's this other character who sets this other character up to think they killed this other guy who they killed. And then, never mind, I'm going to stop right now because it doesn't make sense. Basically, the baseline of the plot is the doctor just wants to get revenge on the guy that did that to her years ago. And it's just horrible people doing horrible things multiple times, and no one's really a good person, and everyone's just kind of sucks. So it was okay. There was a couple reveals that were really like shocking that I was like, but plot wise, it was very, what's the word? It was very violent. It was sad and kind of depressing because it was just like people just being awful and doing awful things. And it was just like these awful people hurting other people and then kind of getting their comeuppance, I guess. But it was just depressing. Anyways, I probably would never watch it again because it just kind of sucked. All of that to say, don't even watch my explanation, because even if I knew their names, I would get their names mixed up and then it would be confusing. So it wouldn't have even mattered if I had known their names. Okay, now on to shows that I'm currently watching. Okay, so I started watching Attack on Titan, the anime that's very famous. I like it. I did spoil it for myself. And I'm not going to explain why I did that. It was a situational thing. It was stupid. I knew as I was as I was Googling this question that I had, that I was probably going to spoil it for myself. I did it anyways. I'm still enjoying the show regardless of the fact that I did spoil a pretty major part of the show. But whatever, I don't care because I'm still enjoying the show. It's interesting. I like it. It's at times I feel like it's hard for me to like sit down and commit to it, but then once I usually start watching an episode, I'm like, oh, I'm in. But that was how I felt with this other anime that I watched, where I really liked it, but I kind of wouldn't watch it for like weeks at a time, and then I would like randomly sit down and watch like 6 episodes, and I was like, wow, I love this show, and then I would stop again for another 2 months, and then whatever. So Attack on Titan is going to take me a long time to watch because there's many seasons, and there's like 20 some episodes per season, and I'm like I think I'm on episode 11 of the first season. So it's going to be a while, but I like it. It's interesting. It's kind of weird. I mean, animes are always just a little bit, I think, weird at times. That's just kind of the genre. That's just kind of the vibe of an anime. Is it's just a little strange sometimes, but it's interesting, so I like it. Okay. The next show that I want to say that I'm watching is called Divorce Insurance. Now, this show, I really like it. I did not think I was going to like it as much. One of the main characters, he's one of my top, like, male actors in K-dramas. I love him. He's so good. He's so silly and goofy in this show and so cute, and I love it because he can play he's played such a wide range of characters that to see him play just like a cute, like, he's like, kind of silly, kind of goofy. I'm just like, I love it. Basically, it's about this guy. So it's 4 people. Or, well, it's like 4 people are like the main characters, but then there's other characters that are like also technically the main characters, and they're in it almost every episode. So there's like multiple main characters. But anyways, it's basically about this group of people that they all work most of them, well, not all of them. Basically, I'm explaining this so bad. The main guy decides that he wants to make an insurance for divorce. He's been divorced 3 times, and he wants to make an insurance so that people cannot lose all their money, essentially, if they get divorced. That's the basic plot of it, because a lot of them work in insurance or have something to do with insurance. So one of them is like a risk management guy. One girl she's an underwriter, which I actually don't know what that is. I can't even explain. And then the main guy has done insurance, I guess, and it's his idea and whatever. And it's just interesting because his like first ex-wife is like the team leader essentially of this group of people. So it's kind of funny. And then one of the guys is his friend, and then the other girl is his love interest, and she's what do you call it? Like, his like neighbor. They live in the same apartment building. They're adorable. I love them so much. They're so cute, and that is the reason I'm watching this show, because at the core of it, it's like, oh, that sounds kind of boring, but they don't really talk about like insurance stuff that much. It's mostly just a romance, like a romantic comedy. It's funny, it's silly. It's had some emotional moments too, where I was like, oh, dang. But yeah, it's just silly. It's goofy. It's kind of dumb. I don't know. I like it. I saw somewhere that it was on, I think, Threads, which who knows if this was true, but it was this whole thing about how the ratings were so bad. And I was like, well, if you hate fun, lighthearted, like kind of a dumb plot, yeah, you might hate this show. But if you like just watching something kind of stupid and just silly and also low-key romantic, then you're gonna love it. So you just have to have taste. Don't listen to the reviews, because the amount of times I've seen people talk about reviews and the ratings are going down on this show, it's like, okay, well, the show is good, so that's just your own opinion. Like, you just have to form your own opinion about it. You can't listen to that. Okay, this other show that I'm watching is called Family Matters. It's only 6 episodes. It's weird, but really interesting. There was this one scene in the most recent episode I finished that was so disturbing on so many different levels, which the show is like, it's like not rated. So it's like, or it's like, what is that one rating? NC-17 or something like that. It's basically like a TV mature, essentially. So they kind of do a lot. It's very violent. It's basically about this really weird family who they were trained, the mom and dad, and I guess the grandpa technically too, were trained at this like weird this facility where they like train super soldiers. Initially I went into the show thinking that they had superpowers. They don't really. Like, the mom kind of has like this like mind control, hypnosis, mind thingy, manipulation type thing is kind of her power, but the dad is just really good at fighting. The grandpa is, I actually don't know what the grandpa does. Maybe they'll reveal that at the last episode. He's just like smart. I don't know. And then the 2 kids are just like, the son is like good at fighting, and the daughter has this weird power. But again, I don't really know if it's like a superpower per se. It's just she's just like really good at fighting. When she gets like, if there's like a flash, it like triggers her, and then she like can like fight. I don't know. We've only seen her do it once in the show, so some of it is not explained. I'm gonna be so real, and I don't quite understand. But basically, the mom and dad, which I love them. Oh my gosh, I love them. They have such a cute relationship. But they met when they were kids, and they grew up together in this facility, basically trying not to die. And then they left with the grandpa, who was the dad. That was his dad. The husband, I guess you could say, his dad. And then they took 2 of the babies. So the babies aren't like the husband and wives. They didn't have them. They just took them with them because the babies were brought there by someone to like become soldiers eventually, to be trained up. They didn't explain that. I don't really know where these babies came from. All I know is that they had babies and they stole them. And they pose as twins because they're like the same age. So it's basically just about this family. They've been moving around a lot. They're staying under the radar. And then they move to this town and it's really corrupt, and they start to like try to fight for justice and help people. I don't know how else to explain it. And they're kind of interesting because I wouldn't say morally gray per se, but like a little bit. And also her power, the mom, who's like kind of the main character, is really interesting in the way they depict her power. There's just this one scene where oh, it was so weird. There was this one character. I'm going to see if I want to try to explain it because it's so bizarre. There's this one character who's like a really bad person in the place. And a big part of the plot is that there's this pastor and he has this church. It's all a money laundering scheme, and they're just like using these people and getting money so they can keep building lots and buildings and stuff. And they're just horrible people that do horrible things. And there was a scene where the one lady that I'm talking about, I think she was technically married, but he was like a horrible person and was like off, cheating on her all the time. She's got a baby daddy over here of this man that she had a kid with, which turned out it wasn't actually her kid because she killed her kid and then adopted another kid when her lover was mad that their baby disappeared. So she adopted some random kid and was like, yeah, this is your kid. Yeah, so she's horrible. Okay, she's terrible. But the guy that she's married to, she ends up killing because of reasons. And then the husband's dead body is right here. The pastor rails her. And I can't even tell you how weird that sentence is. But it's what happened, and it was so weird, and I skipped it and I went, what? I went, what the freak? What was that? So weird, so disturbing. It's one of those scenes where like the wheels probably should have turned faster in my brain, and I've been like realized what was happening because it wasn't quite clear at first what was going on, but I should have been able to put it together faster than I did and realize what the heck was happening. But I didn't put it together very fast, and so then I quickly, as I did, so I wouldn't be traumatized for life, I quickly skipped. But I literally, after that, I saw like just a glimpse of the scene before I skipped. I was like, now who in the drawing room approved that? Because that it was so disturbing. And it was so weird because I didn't think that the pastor was a good person. Like, I knew he was probably a bad guy. I just didn't think that was what I was going to see because he's obviously not a real pastor. Like, he's just faking. But I will say this. This is one thing I'll say about this show that I'm not a huge fan of because I do enjoy the show because it's good otherwise. And I would also like to point out that scene was the only scene in this entire show that's been, like, actually really, like, inappropriate, if you will. Everything else has just been violent. That was the first time where I was like, okay, so you put that in because why? Because you rated it high so you could put crap like that in. And that is one thing that I have a problem with modern K-dramas is certain shows like to put random sex scenes or just weird sexual stuff in there that doesn't have anything to do with the plot. There's no context in which it makes sense. Like that, they did not have to do that. That had nothing to do with the plot. It was just showing, I guess, that they were both terrible people and that he was a horrible person. But we could have seen him do something else that would have indicated he was bad. We didn't need to see him. Anyways, we didn't need to see that. I could have lived my whole life without seeing that scene. But it's like, I don't like it when K-dramas throw in random scenes that don't have anything to do with it. And call me a prude, but I'm like, I just don't, it doesn't add anything to the plot. So why is this a scene? So anyways, that I didn't like. I don't know why they put that in the show. It was weird and it was so gross and just like, bleh, 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 icky. Didn't like it. Was not a fan. Other than that, the show's good. But yeah, that was weird. It's just so weird. Ugh. Didn't like it. Anyways, I didn't even remember. I don't remember what I was originally explaining. That's all I'm gonna say about that show. I don't have anything left. That scene made me go, oh, yuck. What do I want to talk about now? Oh, okay, I have 2 shows left. Oh, this is a long video. Okay, so this show that I'm watching right now is called Resident Playbook. It's basically a spoof, or not a spoof. It's a sort of spin-off of Hospital Playlist, which is like a pretty famous K-drama that has like 3 seasons, I think. By the way, I've tried to watch that show. I can never get into it. I was debating when I was watching Resident Playlist. I was like, maybe I could sit with that other show, but they're really long episodes, and there's two or three seasons, and I'm like, I don't know if I can commit that much time to a show. I'm not even sure, but anyways, Resident Playbook is just basically it's not the same hospital that the first show is at. It's like a sister hospital or something, I think, and it's like different characters. But basically, it's about these 4 residents in their first year of residency and the trials and tribulations that they go through. That's basically the plot. There's a little bit of romance, just a little sprinkle here and there, and it's kind of interesting because a lot of people, when the show first came out, were kind of complaining about who the main female lead, because she's kind of the main character, the one girl who I love the actress, so I really was excited for this show because of her. A lot of people were kind of complaining about who she was potentially being paired up with, if the signs were correct, because again, they haven't like truly indicated it yet. It's just been little things here and there. People are like, I don't like that, and I was like, so you don't have taste, because the guy that she's getting paired up with, like, her scenes with him are 100 times more interesting. And at the end or so of the third episode, that was the most recent one, the other guy that people were like thought that she was going to be shipped with, I was like, if they were going to put the two of them together, they could have made them have many scenes together, because truthfully, they've had a few scenes together where it's just the two of them, and it's been for like 5 seconds, and it hasn't been anything, there's been nothing romantic. It is like the opposite of romance. There has been nothing between them. They're barely coworkers, and so that's why I was like, okay, people are just annoying. And I saw this one comment, oh, this ticks me off. They were complaining because the guy that she was being shipped with, they were like, they're not a good visual match. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It has nothing to do with the fact of like any of their scenes together that this person doesn't think don't have good chemistry, or they're just weird together. No, they're not a good visual match. I was like, shut up. He's hot. Sorry. He is sexy. I don't know why you have a problem with the guys she's paired up with. They're way more interesting than the other guy and her. Whatever. But basically, that's the show. There's some really infuriating doctors, as of course in this type of show there always is. And there's some really sweet people, and the interactions between them and the patients is cute. And I don't know, I like it. It's good. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, I could probably find something, but I'll choose to hold it in because I don't want to go into it. Okay, last show that I'm watching. Now, this is the one I waited to talk about this one because holy cow, I love this show. Now, I would like to say this. Everyone that I know, not like that I actually know, but on my For You page, on Instagram, on all my things, everyone was talking about this show when it first came out. Everyone. It's called When Life Gives You Tangerines. Okay, but it was not overhyped, because here's the thing. I saw that this actor named Park Bo-gum was in the show as one of the as the like younger version, because the show spans through a couple's life from like the time they're kids till the time they're like young teenagers, close to 20, and then when they're older, and then whatever. And then their daughter's story kind of takes up the other half of the show, essentially. So for them, the actor that plays the like dad, the youngish version of the dad, is Park Bo-gum. And I love this actor. He's just incredible. He's an amazing actor. He's just the sweetest, the most just pleasant man to watch on your screen. Like, you just root for him every time, no matter what. And he happens to be one of the greenest flags. He's the sweetest. I just, like, your heart just, like, you can't help but love him. And IU, who's a very famous K-pop idol, she's a singer, she is the main female lead. And actually, okay, so this is what's interesting. She plays the mom, Aesung is her name, Aesung, and she plays the daughter, Gyeomyeon. Okay, so she plays both the mom and the daughter. So the actress that plays the mom later on in life, when she's in her, like, I don't know, like 40s, is a different actress. And the dad is obviously, it's a different actor. But IU plays both the young version of the mom and the daughter once she's like in college. which is interesting. And I feel like part of the reason they did that was because I think it's supposed to be that the daughter is very similar to the mom, but also I'm like, they had IU, so they were like, girl, we gotta utilize this actress. Like because she's a good actress. That's the thing too, is sometimes like singer idol turned actors aren't always good, but she is a good actress, and she's really like, she had to play two different characters, and I feel like she did a very good job with that. And her and Bogum have really good chemistry, and she has really good chemistry. And when she plays the daughter, she has good chemistry with the guys that her daughter dates throughout the show. So it's like whatever. Anyway, so yeah, it's a show that spans through basically this couple's whole life. And it's just very emotional. It's very well acted. Well, the story's interesting. It's engaging. The story is told in just like not sort of a chronological order, but they go back and forth so many times that it doesn't ever really feel like you're stuck on one plot for a long time. Because once the actors changed from IU and Bogum to the older actor versions of their actors, I was like, oh gosh, I don't really know if I want to watch the older actors, but I feel like the older versions have done a very good job of keeping true to the original characters of how they acted, because that's the thing with like when you do a show where it spans a large amount of time of a character's life where they change actors multiple times, because it's like they have to be able to keep that same essence, but the actor is not going to act the exact same way as this person because they have a different style. So it's kind of an interesting take on like people's acting ability, like how well will they be able to portray a character, the same character, but slightly different take on it. And I feel like all the versions of each as they've gotten older have done well. Oh my gosh, all that to say, I have cried so many times in this show, and you watch people, you watch, what am I trying to say? Basically, like I'd seen a lot of Instagram videos and reels and stuff with people talking about this video and being like, they're sobbing, right? And I knew it was sad, and I'm not gonna, okay, here's what happened. I started the show when it first came out, but then I dropped it after like the second episode. I got into like the second episode and I was like, I don't want to watch it. So I stopped watching it. And then I don't know, like maybe like 2 weeks later, I was like, why don't I start it? And then I binged watched it because it's so good. And I should have known that I was going to like it. And I kept seeing edits of it, and I kept being like, I know I'm going to like this. I know I'm going to like it. So I finally just dived back in, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it is so sad because I had seen some of the really like sad scenes that happen in the show out of context of like watching the whole episode. So it was sad. But even though I knew what was going to happen, when I sat down and I watched those episodes, I was sobbing because the acting, the music, that's another thing. I love the music of this show. The cinematography is really good as well. It's just like a pretty show. It's one of those shows. And I had this thought in one of the scenes where the daughter is with the dad, and she just had this like, because the daughter like does like a voiceover of the show mostly, where she'll like talk about being like, at that time I didn't know this was gonna happen, or I wish I had done this, or blah blah blah. It's sort of like a like looking back, and she had said something about, because her and her dad had gone to see the sunrise because he's a fisherman, and she said something about the sunrise and being there with her dad, and it made her realize something about that. And it was just really sweet. But I literally was watching the show, and I just had this thought of like, I really like it when I'm watching a show, whether it's a K-drama or not, and it just makes me appreciate my own family. So like this show is very family centered. It's very family, like that's every episode is just centered around this family and how they interact with each other, what they go through in life, and how they get through really hard times and different things. And it's just like shows that make me appreciate my own parents and my sisters always will make me more emotional. And that's kind of how I felt with this show. Is like there was just scenes where it's just like raw family just interactions, and how they talk to each other, and how maybe they're mean at one point and they regret it later on and realize that they wish they hadn't said it like that, or they and it's just like life, man. It's like life, and it's so beautiful and sad, but also just so well portrayed. And there is a scene, I'm gonna spoil the show, so sorry. There is a scene where the couple, so the husband and wife that are the center of this whole show, they lose their youngest son. When I say this was one of the saddest scenes I've seen in a show, it was pretty top up there. But there's a scene that I actually think was more sad than when they find him, which oh my gosh, because they live off the ocean, and they don't ever say exactly what happened. It's presumed that he fell in the water and he drowned. And that's, I think, how he died. They don't actually say, he was so little. But the scene, because it's like one thing that they call the dad, that everyone in the town calls the dad, he's kind of just known as Steelheart. And the voiceover of the scene when the dad they find him, and his wife is holding him in total shock, just like not even realizing that her son is dead. There's not even like she's just like, why wouldn't anyone call the ambulance? Like, what, hello, like he's cold, like his feet are cold, and it's like so sad, right? The husband just starts sobbing, and the like voiceover is, and that was like the day their steel heart collapsed, and I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm out. And the scene also, Bokum, the actor that plays the dad, when I say weeping, like sobbing, like scream crying, essentially. It was very sad. And she doesn't cry when she's holding him, and that was even more like heart-wrenching. And then I think that the scenes that were even sadder, there's 2 scenes that happen after that. The dad is registering his son's death, which I can't even imagine he's like writing his name down, and he touches, because he writes his name down, he touches it, and he adds how old he was, and he was 3 years old. But after he touches the name, he just collapses and is sobbing in this like office building that he's in their town. And there's just people around, and he's just, weeping. And that scene made me, I think, cry more, because I was like, that was so sad. And then the mom, the scene that really was like just so sad from her perspective, is she comes back after she's in like morning clothes, and she comes back in the house, and what had happened and how her son had died was that she was at home. Her son spilled some candy. She got mad at him and was like upset with him, and was like, why are you always getting into everything? And he starts crying, and he's like, Mommy, give me a hug. And he kept asking for her to give him a hug, but she didn't. And then this other kid comes running up, and there's like, oh, your daughter got hurt. Come quick. So the mom runs away. The second child, so the older brother, goes after the mom, and then the youngest runs by himself, and he runs after, and then that's how he must have however he died. And he left the house, and so his little fork is sitting on the ground, and his food is still sitting on the table. So the mom comes home presumably after the funeral or something, because she's in, again, morning clothes. She comes back in, and she picks up the fork, and she just like holds the fork and like imagines her son like being there and like hugging him, and it's just like she only has like a few tears, but it was the most just like subtle grief, because it wasn't the husband where he was crying out loud. It was just her being like quietly crying to herself, that felt so just like she didn't even really have she was exhausted. She didn't even really have like the strength to do anything more than like a few tears. Anyways, so those were like 2 of the scenes that got me when I was first watching it, and then I just was like sobbing most recently with the dad and the daughter having their conversations and just being together, and the music was so sad and so emotional, and I just love my own dad so much. And, anyways, all of that to say, it is an incredible show. It's just really cute, and one of my favorite actors plays a role in the show later on, and he's the one that the daughter ends up marrying. And so getting to see the 2 of them together they're adorable, but he's also so sweet, and I love him so much. Oh my gosh. And it just, yeah. And one thing I will say about the show is there is some really annoying characters, but thankfully the way that the show goes, you don't have to endure like 6 straight episodes of them. You have to see them a little bit here, and then you have to see them a little bit here, and you have to see a little bit here. But it's not a ton, and it could have been so much more, and I'm really glad, because her almost mother-in-law, the guy she almost marries, she doesn't end up marrying him because whatever. The mother-in-law, holy cow, she's awful. She's a terrible person. So I was really glad that we didn't have to have too much of her, because I don't think I would have been able to handle it. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of what I'm watching right now. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I did not think I was going to talk for 40 minutes straight about this, but I had a lot to say about a lot of the shows, so I guess that's it. Okay, so I think that's it. So okay, bye, I guess.